What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Matic here, back at again for another video. And today I just want to talk a little bit about Square Enix and the state of Square Enix as of right now, because you know, I feel like Square Enix has been struggling a little bit with their new recent titles, with the sales of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 and Final Fantasy 16. Like, I feel like the sales aren't meeting what they really are reaching for, and I feel like there's reasons behind that, you know. And honestly, I just want to also talk about this one that's been appearing in articles as of recently, talking about how they are acknowledging the success of Expedition 33. You know, they're acknowledging the fact that it's a role-playing game, and you know, it's going back to its traditional roots, because it was obviously inspired by classic JRPGs and everything. Expedition 33 is highly successful right now, and it already sold over like 3 million copies about. So I mean, like, you can just go off of that, like literally, like Expedition 33, the fact that it is sold over 3 million copies is really crazy, especially for an indie team to be this successful. It's just like, wow. This is the thing about Square Enix. So to me personally, I feel like, all right, say for instance, they see that Expedition 33, they're saying like people still want role-playing games and all this other stuff, right? But let me get it straight, Square Enix. I feel it this way. I'm sorry, I feel it this way. Specifically, this is how I feel about Square Enix. You guys had your chance. You guys already have said and put it out there that role-playing games are becoming outdated. Role-playing games, people do not want that anymore. They want more action-based kind of titles. And this is why I feel like Final Fantasy 16 was not a success as far as sales. It's because when you look at the gameplay of Final Fantasy 16, it does not look like a Final Fantasy game. I'm sorry, it does not. It looks like something out of an action title. It looks like fucking Devil May Cry or something. Like, that's just my like intuition. I've never played the game. I'm sorry if I'm like, you know, if people are judging me right now from the way I'm judging the game. And I know I've never played it, but judging from the gameplay, people are gonna think that that's not even a Final Fantasy game. Like, you know, people are gonna look at the game and be like, what, that's a Final Fantasy game? What happened to Final Fantasy? Because people are so used to Final Fantasy being a role-playing game. People are so like touch up on the fact that this game is such an action-based title that people are looking back at Final Fantasy 13 and being like, this game was beautiful, this game is amazing. We need to go back to that Final Fantasy 13 kind of gameplay style. Like, you know, people are acknowledging Final Fantasy 13. And I remember when the game came out, people were bashing the hell out of Final Fantasy 13. And we talking about the whole series of Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, 13-3, Lightning Returns. Like, we talking about all of them. Like, people are out there on X acknowledging Final Fantasy 13 and be like, damn, we really didn't like acknowledge it as much as we did, as we should have. Like, we didn't appreciate it as much as we should have. You know, people are really going out their way and being like, man, like, this game was actually a beautiful game. And to me personally, man, my Final Fantasy 13 story, oh my god, I was so hyped for that game. And I remember selling almost half of my library on Xbox 360 to GameStop in order to buy Final Fantasy 13 on the PlayStation 3. That's how much I really was excited for Final Fantasy 13. You know, that's how excited I was for Final Fantasy 13, and people don't really know that. People don't really know how hyped it was when people do not really know how hyped it was when Final Fantasy 13 came out. It was really a big deal during that time. It was really a big deal because I remember seeing it during E3, I believe like 2006 or something like that. Maybe I'm a little too far behind, but I remember seeing it on like one of these E3s, like the early gameplay and everything, and I was like, wow, this game is gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be amazing, and I cannot wait for it to come out. Obviously, the final product was so different from what they shown in E3, but man, like, it was to see those trailers and everything else of Final Fantasy 13 during that time, and seeing the graphics and seeing lightning and all this other stuff was just like, it was just out of this world. But back to Square Enix and just the state of Square Enix as of right now, I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like they are failing. They're not in touch with their roots. They need to go back to their roots. Like, I feel like Final Fantasy has not been the same for a while. Mind you, Final Fantasy, I feel like the reason why Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2 didn't sell as well was because of the fact that it was exclusively on PlayStation 5. And mind you, when the original one came out, it was on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I believe it first came on PlayStation 4 and then they had to upgrade to PlayStation 5, but it was basically on both platforms. And when I feel like not many people still don't have a PlayStation 5. That's another thing too. Not many people still own a PlayStation 5, which is crazy to say, right? Because they're already trying to work on PlayStation 6, but people still are out there and do not own a PlayStation 5 because honestly, to a lot of people, there's just no reason to buy a PlayStation 5 when all the games like on PlayStation 5 is coming out on PlayStation 4. You know, there's not that many exclusives. There's not those hype titles that's coming out. And they're like, yo, I need to get a PlayStation 5. No, there's not. You know, so I don't know if that's gonna change in the future of PlayStation, but yeah. And then we look at the sales titles, the sales numbers for Final Fantasy 16, which recently just came on the Xbox. Now, mind you, not a lot of people play JRPGs on the Xbox. I'm pretty sure not a lot of people play JRPGs. I mean, it's very niche. It's a very niche genre to play on the Xbox Xbox, platform. So I feel like since also the game is not on Xbox Game Pass, that kind of turned off a lot of people. The fact that the game was not on Xbox Game Pass, and people, I feel like a lot of Xbox fans, a lot of Xbox owners are kind of spoiled. They kind of really want all their games to be on Xbox Game Pass. If the game is not Xbox Game Pass, they're probably not gonna buy the game, because Xbox Game Pass gives you access to so many games, and it's like, if the game is there, then I'm gonna play it. If the game is not there, I'm not gonna play the game. I'm not gonna go out of my way and buy the game for $70. And mind you, first party games are gonna be costing $60, $80 sooner. You know what I'm saying? Because of fucking Microsoft, because of Xbox and their ideology or whatever. So people are not gonna go out of their way to buy these games for that much money. If it's on the platform, like if it's one of these streaming kind of platforms, then people are gonna automatically download it, and that's that's the only way people are gonna play it, especially people who have Xbox platforms. People are not gonna go out of their way to buy the game, and this is why Final Fantasy 16 did not sell enough on the Xbox. And Square Enix needs to see this. Like, they were so hyped to announce it and everything else. They thought that thing was probably gonna sell really well, whatever. And no, if you saw the numbers it's not matching for what they really like. Once again, it's not matching for what Square Enix is really wanting as far as numbers. You're probably looking at these numbers and they're like, damn, this is so underwhelming. Like, man, like it's pretty sad to say the least. And I feel like even other titles from Square Enix is not selling as much as it should, and I feel like Final Fantasy Remake Part 2, that should have been a big awakening for Square Enix. You know what I'm saying? That should have been a big awakening for them, to let them know that, all right, you need to change your style. You need to change the way you need to go multi-platform. Go multi-platform when a game releases, because this PlayStation 5 kind of exclusivity deal is not working out. It's not working out. You need to put your games on PC. You need to put your games on Xbox. As much as it sounds, as much as people, I know the fanboys or whatever, they're probably like, nah, they don't need to put it on Xbox or whatever. But like, that's the only way you're gonna sell more titles. That's the only way you're gonna sell, more sales figures and stuff like that, if you put your games on multi-platform. So especially with, like, say for instance, like, let's go with Sega, let's go with Atlas right now. When they went multi-platform, right, all of their titles started selling pretty well. We're talking about Persona, we're talking about Yakuza, we're talking about like Sonic. Like, Sonic was always multi-platform, but I'm just saying, like, if you see the sales numbers and stuff like that, Shin Megami Tensei, like, there was recently a leak of all the numbers from the games that have been released through Sega. And a lot of the games, like Shin Megami Tensei was there, Yakuza franchise, but all those other games, they're all there, and they sell pretty good numbers. Why? Because of the fact that they're multi-platform, the fact that it's accessible for everybody. So I feel like Square Enix should go with this idea, and I feel like they're doing that right now when they are releasing Final Fantasy Remake Part 1. They're releasing it on the Xbox, and they're also releasing it on the Switch too. But I feel like it's a little too late for that, to be honest. Like, I mean, I don't know how good it's gonna be on Switch 2, but we'll see when it comes out. But I mean, like, man, if Final Fantasy Remake Part 1 is, I think it's a 5-year-old game. I'm not too sure, but I know that Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 1, it's a little years behind already. Like, you know, people already want to play Part 2. People already want to play Part 2. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel like people need to, like, I feel like Square Enix needs to get it with date. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is what I just think. This is literally what I just think, and I don't know. Square Enix is in trouble. They need to wake up. They need to see the success of Expedition 33, and they need to wake up. They need to see that role-playing games still have an audience, right? Because as you can see, Persona, as you can see, Like a Dragon, right? Role-playing. It's a role-playing game, right? And it's successful, right? So they need to see that. They need to see that. Square Enix needs to get back on the top and set an example because they were the masters of role-playing games. They were the master role-playing games. Like, Final Fantasy is the best. Like, it's not the best to me. It's not the best role-playing game to me, but it's the top of the role-playing games. It's the best. Like, Japanese RPGs, when you think of Japanese RPGs, you think of Final Fantasy. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. Yeah, man, Square Enix, you need to wake up. I'm sorry, you need to wake up. You need to see what's up, and yeah, go from there. Anyways, this is much what I gotta say about Square Enix, and if you got any thoughts, please leave it in the comment section, and please remember to subscribe to my channel and like this video. I will highly appreciate it. My name is Sam Maddock, and I'll see you guys in the next video.